That's right, and I'm going to name drop 3 paying people right now, and that's Alfonso Merriman, that is Wayne Daly, and that is John Curry. That's right. If you all remember that song, that led into the segment we're going to call right now, The Franchise Takes 5. The only problem with it is that was a name I used on an old show that we used to do back in the heydays when we all had the best times in wrestling, so I can't use that name because it's been copyrighted by me and from an old site. So it's just going to be, you all know who I am, and my name is Timothy Gibbons, and I'm going to do my segment right now. We're going to go ahead and top it off right now and talk about the McMahons, Triple H, Stephanie, Vince McMahon, and yes, the name that nobody hears anymore, Shane McMahon. The greatest thing that I saw in the past week on Monday Night Raw was the fact that Stephanie McMahon was arrested. When is the last time that we saw a predominant heel that gets so much heat in the WWE arrested live on television in front of the WWE Universe? And yes, I know someone's going to come out there and yell, well, Stone Cold Steve Austin was arrested 959 million times all the time when he had a fight with Vince McMahon. Stone Cold Steve Austin was not just a predominant heel in the WWE like Stephanie McMahon and Triple H are at this moment in time. So there's your correction before you get all stupid and type your little shit on your keyboard. Here's the fact. Stone Cold Steve Austin was a outlaw badass that the crowd loved because they needed somebody to take out the McMahons at that time. So yeah, Stone Cold Steve Austin was kind of a heel, but he was a face at the same time. So in reality, again, the only predominant heel ever arrested on Monday Night Raw and in front of the WWE Universe would have to be Stephanie McMahon right at this moment in time. If I remember right, I believe Vince McMahon had handcuffs placed on him one time too. Anyway, this whole storyline with Stephanie McMahon and Triple H regime running over rampant because Vince McMahon has taken his boots and hung them up on his little nail on his wall in his house is the best for business in my mind for Monday Night Raw at this moment in time, for all of us sitting here watching WWE at this moment in time. This is building to something bigger and better later down the line. And I've said it before many months ago in a blog that I had typed. I can't even remember what the title of the blog was because I've done so many. But the point of it is we are going to see a McMahon split eventually sometime within the next 6 months to the next year and a half. And you're going to see those two sides splitting. And we are going to see the reemergence of Shane O'Mac. You're going to see Triple H and Stephanie McMahon on one side, and Vince McMahon and Shane O'Mac on the other side. And these guys are going to be butting heads. You're going to see the McMahons fighting back and forth, not only for creative control of WWE, not even just for creative control of Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, whatever. It's just the simple fact that it's going to come to the point where Triple H and Stephanie McMahon are going to get a slap of reality that's going to come from Daddy Mac and Sonny Mac and Vince and Shane. So let's move on. Let's go ahead and talk about your Mr. Money in the Bank, Seth Rollins. Now, for all of you out there that know about wrestling for as many years as wrestling has been around and have followed all the indie scenes, you all know there's 3 main names that come to mind. That's Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and CM Punk. But we're talking about Seth Rollins right this moment. Seth Rollins went on to win the Money in the Bank ladder match this year, taking that prestigious briefcase down to solidify his spot to become the #1 contender whenever he wants to run down, drop that briefcase, call himself a ref in there, and steal the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Now, he tried that recently. And I remember a few other guys tried that recently. Each time that they try, they're like, oh, no, 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 I didn't want to cash in at that moment in time. Look, I'm going to tell you right now, Seth Rollins is going to cash in, regardless if it's against John Cena, who we'll talk about in a little bit, regardless if it's against the man-beast, the incarnate of carnage, the devourer of WWE roster members, and Brock Lesnar, or if it's against, what's his name, Randy Orton. Seth Rollins is going to cash in, and he will become the WWE Heavyweight Champion soon. They're not going to put this thing on him and pull a John Cena. I mean, that was the one and only time that I feel in the existence of the Money in the Bank briefcase you would ever see a competitor, especially in the name as big as John Cena, regardless if it would have been anybody else, to come down, to cash in, and be the very first person to not win after cashing in Money in the Bank. So, the whole deal with Plan B being Seth Rollins, probably one of the greatest moves in professional wrestling recently. Now, did I see it coming that night on Raw that Seth Rollins was going to turn his back on his brothers, Ambrose and Reigns? No, I didn't see that, and I don't think anybody else out there did. But when it happened, when he laid out Rollins with that steel chair, and the look on Dean Ambrose's face was just priceless. I was waiting for a MasterCard commercial to happen in the background, in the corner of my screen at the same time that it was going on. The look on Dean Ambrose's face when his brother Seth Rollins turned on the Shield, priceless. Speaking of Dean Ambrose, who has become the outcast here in WWE recently with the splitting of the Shield, he's also become the renegade outlaw that's out there. It kind of reminds me of the old days when Stone Cold Steve Austin first came in and kind of ran through everybody to get what he actually wanted. Dean Ambrose is one crazy mother effer, and we all know it. We've all seen him on the indie scene. We've seen what he can do. We know what he can do in the WWE. And I'm sorry to say, for Seth Rollins, your days are numbered while Dean Ambrose is breathing and walking through the hallways of every WWE event. So if I were you, I'd look over your shoulder at all times. Or I'd get you one of those mirrors that you can stick on each shoulder. It sticks way out here, so all you got to do is look at the mirror, and you know who exactly is behind you. But if you remember, all you really need to look for and listen for is that crazy, psychotic little laugh of Dean Ambrose. And we're going to move on. We're going to talk about Roman Reigns. You know, Roman Reigns is probably the bigger of the three in the Shield that I expected to skyrocket into the WWE Universe. The bandwagon to grow huge and just keep stacking and stacking and stacking and stacking and stacking. Unfortunately, I didn't see that happen right away. And unfortunately, I think the biggest following right now in the WWE happens to be all the fans behind. He's got the whole world in his hands. Everybody following Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family. Unfortunately. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. Roman Reigns is going to be a champion down the line. I have a feeling that come SummerSlam, with this feud, it looks like it's beginning to brew, and the witch's cauldron is starting to spill over its sides. And everything right now between Randy Orton and Roman Reigns is going to culminate at SummerSlam. And you're going to see one of these two guys get hurt, and it's going to be something very bad. I look for Roman Reigns to continue that skyrocket climb to the top of that ladder, and eventually, come Royal Rumble, Roman Reigns is going to be the man who's going to step into WrestleMania 31 to take on the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And again, it doesn't matter if it's John Cena, Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins, or even that guy, Randy Orton. It doesn't matter who it is, because come WrestleMania 31, Roman Reigns will step atop of the WWE holding the World Heavyweight Championship in his hands. We're going to move on to a little bit of a sour note here that I'm sure I'm going to piss a lot of people off. Actually, we're going to do that twice in a row here. And the first one's going to start with Dolph Ziggler. Done. Done. I believe that the last chance recyclement they had with Dolph Ziggler was with the IC title. And I think that something may have happened there, to where, yes, he didn't get that IC title, and he's going to feud with The Miz here for a while over the IC title, just enough time for Bad News Barrett to show back up and yell, "Afraid I got some bad news for you." He's going to take both of them out in a triple threat match, and Bad News Barrett's going to retain his title that he never lost because he never defended that title. Just the same way as Daniel Bryan lost his title and never defended it. We're going to move on to, yes, Miz. Oh God, here we go again. I name dropped Alfonso Merriman at the very beginning of this video, and you know exactly how I feel with The Miz. We talked about this in detail a few years ago when The Miz first came around and got his first ever WWE title. Unfortunately, I still hate The Miz. I don't like the guy. He's got talent. He can talk, and he can do this and he can do that. But now the character switch that he has now, Mr. Movie Star, don't mess up my face. You know what? My 3-year-old son, my 6-month-old baby, drop-kick The Miz in the face, break his nose, make him look like, you know, Miss Brady being hit with the football from the episode of the Brady Bunch. I really don't give a damn. I'm so sick of The Miz, and I can't wait for someone to crush him. And I hope it's right in front of his mommy and his daddy, who are sitting in the crowd now recently at the last few WWE events. What better way than to smash up Miz's face right in front of his mommy? We're going to move on to John Cena. Yes, John Cena. I'm still waiting for this to happen. Everybody else is still waiting for it to happen, and I don't think it's ever going to happen. But the point of it is there's a big rumor going around of John Cena. He's getting ready to leave for a couple of movies again. Go figure. He wants to run The Rock's name through the dirt and drag him through the mud and scrape him up the back for the last few years through WrestleMania story time and everything else, because The Rock was the biggest thing in the WWE, and he left the WWE people, and he's no longer the people's champ. And he went down to Hollywood and made a couple of movies, and now he wants to come back part-time. Well, what about you, John Cena? What about you? You're the WWE World Heavyweight Champion right now. And the bad thing about it is you're going to step in the ring again. And I say, again, with Brock Lesnar. Now, the rumor running around is that John Cena is so banged up from all the years in the WWE and performing for us for all these years, but the rumor is he's going to hang up his widow boots on the nail as well, like Vince McMahon did, and step away and go to Hollywood and become a part-timer like The Rock. That's just inedible. Setting up a WrestleMania feud with The Rock and John Cena, once in a lifetime, part 3. Seriously, give me a flipping break. Brock Lesnar's going to step in the ring. He's going to break John Cena in half. John Cena's going to get drug out of the arena, and he's going to go to Hollywood, and he's going to make a few more movies, and we're all going to go, na 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 na, hey, 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 you can't see me. Then we're going to move on over here to Daniel Bryan. And Daniel Bryan was, and still is in my mind, the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And the reason that for is because he never lost the title. Daniel Bryan sustained a massive and very severe injury that has cost him to have to be stripped of the WWE World Heavyweight Championship title by Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, and I'm sure, you know, Vinnie Mac, Daddy Mac had to say in it as well, because you can't have a champion that can't defend your title. I mean, seriously, you can't. 30-day clause, unless they've changed that recently in the contracts of their talents, it's got to go bye-bye. So Daniel Bryan sustains this injury, goes in, has surgery to correct the injury, comes back to find out only again that he's going to have to go underneath the knife, and they're going to have to do some more snippety-snip, snippety-snip, and a little bit of surgery and everything else to correct some more issues that turns out to be a lot worse than they expected. Daniel Bryan is not going to be Daniel Bryan when he returns to the WWE, if ever, anytime this year. Daniel Bryan is going to come back to the WWE as a whole different person. Daniel Bryan is not going to be able to do all the high-flying moves that we all witnessed for all those years that Daniel Bryan has done, from the indie scene to the WWE, out of NXT and everywhere else that he's been at this moment in time. You're not going to see Daniel Bryan as Daniel Bryan anymore. Will Daniel Bryan come back, and will he recapture a WWE World Heavyweight Championship? Yes, sometime down the line he will. Will it be the prestige of watching him jump from as high as a forklift pallet, or the top rope even? Maybe a Shane O'Mac Titantron tribute. to do a flying headbutt? No, I think those days are over. I think the mindset of Daniel Bryan and the skill set of Daniel Bryan is moving away from the high flying down to the technicalities of inside the mat and become a technical wrestler. I'm not going to name drop any names here because they don't work in the company, that or they're deceased and long gone. Rest in peace to a few of those that you might know who I'm talking about. We're going to move on to probably one of the greatest announcers in wrestling history, and that is Jim Ross. Jim Ross has tweeted that this is officially the last week that Jim Ross is employed or has any ties of walking into Titan Towers in Connecticut anymore with the WWE. We wish you well, Jim Ross. We thank you for all the great years of announcing professional wrestling from every single promotion you've ever held a microphone to your mouth in all those years, giving us play-by-play commentary on some of the greatest matches in professional wrestling history. Good luck on your future endeavors. We will see you soon. We will see you again in WWE. I almost damn guarantee it. Now, what's with this new so-called revamp 2.0 of the Nation of Domination that I'm seeing? I'm seeing Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston, and Big E Langston, who apparently the WWE creative team has nothing for these guys. Well, if you all remember, years ago in the Attitude Era, and I believe it's going to happen because I've seen it out there and I hear it out there, I really don't see how you are going to build a Nation of Domination in the WWE without one of the biggest men standing in that stable. And that is the Rick Ross-looking son of a bitch, Mark Henry. Without Mark Henry, you will not have a Nation of Domination 2.0 or 5.0 or 1.5 million. Hell, I wouldn't even mind seeing a part-timer The Rock come back and join in the Nation of Domination for just a little bit of a time that he's inside of the WWE again, coming up within the next year or even 6 months or maybe the year after that or maybe 5 years down the road. Whenever The Rock decides to come back, when the money is right. If you smell... Anyway, so we're going to move on, as I was saying earlier. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. Yeah, we're talking about Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family. These guys have gone from the creepiness to a fan favorite in a matter of months. And I don't think it was supposed to go that way. But these guys have got one of the biggest followings in the WWE Universe around the world right now. Because he's got the whole world in his hands. Every time the Wyatt family shows up on the Titantron and you hear Bray Wyatt say, Cleveland, Chicago, Los Angeles, Montreal, wherever they're at, we're here. The crowd explodes, the arena goes dark, and all you see is cell phone lights all over the place, or even lighters being struck up. These guys have got the biggest following in WWE history as today that I can remember anybody in the past ever having. Bray Wyatt not only has to use John Cena to get over, now having to use Y2J to get over. I don't know what is going on here. The big names, Bray Wyatt's come in and he's slapped down, and now he's slapping down Chris Jericho. We all know Chris Jericho's only here for a very short time. 1, 2, and possibly only 3 more months. We get a Jericho match there. We're going to get a Jericho match at SummerSlam, and we're probably going to get a Chris Jericho versus Bray Wyatt in some form of stipulation at the Night of Champions. Now, you're going to look at Chris Jericho won match number 1. Unfortunately, Bray Wyatt is probably going to win some way, form, or fashion at SummerSlam. It's going to come down to that rubber match at Night of Champions, where we're going to watch Bray Wyatt completely decimate Chris Jericho. Y2, don't leave us already. Chris Jericho is going to leave on an injury hiatus because he is the lead singer of the very popular Fozzy rock and roll band. was recently Chris Jericho was interviewed on a recent radio station close to my local area. So one day we're going to see Chris Jericho return again. So don't ever forget that. We're going to come down to probably the one I really don't even want to talk about because I think it's already gone. But I'm going to tag somebody else in this video when I do it, and his name is John Pappas. John Pappas is a good friend of mine who runs a local business in my hometown, and by God, he has the straight 151% look of Rusev from the WWE. Every time he comes on my TV, I tweet him or text him or send him a message or call him and say, why am I seeing you on my TV? Well, make me a euro. But you got Jack Swagger, who recently was taken away from the Cesaro deal, left with Zeb Coulter, Dutch Mantel, Dirty Dutch Mantel, whatever you want to call this guy, and all of a sudden loses everything he has because he was stupid when he left an arena a year or so ago to doing nothing but crap. And now all of a sudden creative says, well, we need to turn Jack Swagger back to face. What better way to do that is up against Rusev, and let's have worlds collide again. Here we are back in 1980s when you got Hulk Hogan and the Iron Sheik butting heads. You've got Hulk Hogan and you got Sergeant Slaughter butting heads because Sergeant Slaughter was brainwashed by the Iron Sheik and joined the Iraqi military back in the day when it was, you know, Desert Storm and blah, blah, blah. Good God, world. We don't need to see another worlds collide. Whether it's Jack Swagger and Rusev, whether it's John Cena and Rusev, whether it's return to Bill Goldberg. And don't say that because I don't think that's going to happen, and they're not going to use Bill Goldberg to take out Rusev in any which way because Rusev's undefeated, so don't try that. Doesn't matter who it is. Who gives a damn about Rusev? World events have caused WWE again to switch around their direction, take their little script, and change it all over again. So just as Rusev is getting over, now they're going to destroy it because of world events outside of their control. The storyline of Jack Swagger and Rusev may be coming to an end. The WWE title reign of John Cena is coming to a close. And that's going to be because of the client, Brock Lesnar. The world, as we know it, for Daniel Bryan, it could have already came to a close. We won't know until it's finally come out and be told. I have a feeling Seth Rollins' world's starting to close smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And by the time that Dean Ambrose gets his hands around him, there will be no more Seth Rollins for a while. But the world is getting bigger and bigger and bigger for the Wyatt family and Bray Wyatt because he has the whole world in his hands. Again, that's my thoughts. I can't name this what I used to name my stuff due to copyright reasons. So I'm going to leave it up to the RSM family to give me a name for this little segment. Again, thank you for listening, watching. Leave your comments. Cry, bitch, moan, groan, whatever you want to do. Point of it is, I don't give a damn.